I'm good. We're live.
Hi, we're back.
Hi. We'll wait for more people to join us. I'm going to log on and look at some questions people left us during that last hour. Holy crap. Lots of comments. Lots of comments.
Oh, here they go. Hey, Kathy. I see her.
Oh, wow.
Hi.
Hi.
Welcome back, everyone. So we will see. We will see now. We had a couple connection issues. First round, they were brief. It was great. But now we're back, and everything's going to be lovely. So you all know me. Hooray. You can watch the first video we did for a little bit more of her background. So what we want to do now is just like answer things. So I'm going through the last hour's worth of questions right now. Who is she?
Who's she? I guess they didn't watch last section.
Just go ahead.
All right.
Knock it out.
So I am Shari Criso, and I'm a friend of Jamie's. I've been a longtime friend of Jamie's, 6 years. And
6 years.
I am a certified nurse midwife, a labor and delivery nurse, and I'm an international board certified lactation consultant. And I also work with Evenflo Feeding, helping them to design their latest amazing breast pump, which is our giveaway tonight, right? The Evenflo Feeding Advanced Double Electric Breast Pump. I've been working with new moms and babies for 25 years, and I also had a retail store for 12 years. I sold all kinds of products, so I know products really well. I do a really good bra fitting. If anybody needs nursing bras, that was something that I specialized in for a long time.
People don't know how to fit.
That's a whole topic.
Not that I do it.
Tonight?
We can talk about
I want to
bra
talk about
fitting.
bras because
Absolutely.
I'm like, okay, so we'll talk
Do you
about
have any bras? Do you have any bras?
I absolutely have bras. Are you kidding? I have nursing bras. We're going to bring some down. We'll get some nursing bras. I got bras. I got bras for sale even. Believe it or not. We actually, Jamie and I met 6 years ago when I had a web TV show. 6 years ago when no one was doing video, I was doing a web show called My Baby Experts, where we would do live every week, and I would do topics and have guests, and we would do it on like everything. I mean, from baby safety, cloth diapering, to like breastfeeding, labor, birth, everything, gear. There's some great episodes, and I have a website called mybabyexperts.com, and on my YouTube channel where you can watch.
Hold on. This is crazy because it took us a little bit. It is an immediate 1,200 people watching right now.
Holy crap.
Well, all right. Yeah. Welcome to Jersey by the fireplace.
We're here again. I was just saying, it feels like we just did this, but that was like a while ago already, and time is going fast. It's almost the end of the year already. So if anybody wants to watch some old episodes, I've got the entire library. There's like 600 video clips. Do you know that?
Yeah.
600 clips on like everything. If you're like enjoying the Q&A today, you can watch the rest of this.
You listen. You will see me behaving like a total shithead.
I got the best videos of the two.
I have there's video of me like wearing like postpartum support wraps. Best one out there is still the cinch.
It is.
Cinch wrap is still the best thing out. It is built like a corset.
It's great. That is the best video. You loved it.
I have worn all manner of things with no shame. I have worn the cinch. I can't even count how many times I've worn a Simple Wishes on television. I can't.
With the bottles and the flanges hanging off of it.
You know what? You got to do it.
Yep. You've worn a breastfed pillow. You drank wine off of a breastfed pillow.
Oh, I absolutely have. When I worked at Bye Bye Baby, I actually used to wear breast friends and tighten it really, really hard because you stand up all day.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, it's
and so if you get that back support, and I would just rest my arms, and I was like, if breastfed made like a more substantial pillow, like it was just a little bit harder on the bottom
for when you stand.
Oh, you could put your laptop up there. You'd have like a real cup holder.
I just
you could
saw
do everything.
I just saw, and this is totally getting off topic. I just saw an airline pillow today. I don't know if you've seen this, where it goes under your chin, so you don't do this.
Oh yeah.
Did you ever try
Yeah.
that? Oh, I liked it.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
getting one.
Well, like the thing is, any of those U-shaped airline pillows, all you have to do is turn this way.
Okay. Oh, right, and then it goes under your chin.
You just turn it this way, and you're like.
Oh, yeah. All right. There you go.
All right.
Totally random, but there you go.
All right. Here we go.
Why are you laughing?
We have a couple interesting questions from the last hour because it's hard. Normally when I do these, I'm very close to the camera and I can still kind of see what's going on down here. But when we're like rapid fire talking to each other, I miss a lot.
Yeah,
okay.
definitely.
So I have questions from the last hour. I'll hit up a couple of these. I will try to pull a few from here as well. Okay. Mm-hmm. But this is an interesting one. Okay. They were talking about like tips for introducing bottles and everything. Mm-hmm. Somebody said have someone else introduce the bottle. Mom cannot be present or baby will smell the milk and won't take the bottle. Legitimacy in that, yes or no?
No, it's really not. That's like a real myth. I think that there's no reason that a mom can't introduce the bottle to the baby. And in fact, the sooner you do that and earlier you do that, the baby really can take both. What you don't want is to create a situation where you have to leave the room every time your baby's there or that you can't feed the baby a bottle. It's a total myth. Yes, the baby can smell the milk. And as they get older and you try to do this, it may be difficult because the baby's, knows what they want and they want it. But I would start off two things. I would start off doing everything with the bottle to make it easier, like starting a little sooner than when most people say. That's not 4 to 6 weeks, but sooner than that. I would say make sure, anybody can feed the baby, mom, dad, doesn't matter. No. If you can feed your baby cold milk, you do not need to warm it up. And in fact, milk that is cold and not heated, the less you do to the milk, the better. It actually makes
retains the nutrient.
Exactly. So you don't want to have to heat it. And of course, if you keep heating the milk, then it's going to make your baby only want to drink warm milk, where it's a lot. Think about it. If you're out with your baby, it's a lot easier if your baby will take it cold.
Yeah.
And don't listen to all the grandmothers who I've had people say it chills their core. I'm like, no, it doesn't chill their core. They can drink it cold.
Do you lose your mind when you drink a cold beverage?
They can drink it cold.
No, you don't.
They can drink it cold.
Here's interesting thought though, is regarding smelling mother and everything with bottles. But I am the biggest co-sleeping bed sharing fan on the planet. Like who cares? Get it done. But if you are co-sleeping in bed sharing your baby, like they're nursing all night, like we're trying to wean and whatever.
Yeah.
Is there a concern getting baby out of the bed, out of that area, because they will be like, I'm used to this, we need to get this done all night?
I think the concern comes up when we get the questions like, I'm co-sleeping with my baby and I'm really happy doing that, but I don't like having to wake up during the night to keep on nursing. Like these nighttime feedings are killing me. How do I get my baby to wean during the night and continue to co-sleep? And the answer is,
you can't do both.
You can't do both. So I would say that, if you're going to continue to co-sleep, just expect your baby to, be right there next to the breast. Most people have a really hard time weaning their baby when the breast is right there and readily available. And with that being said, I recommend long-term co-sleeping and long-term breastfeeding. So I'm not telling anybody to stop co-sleeping or stop breastfeeding. What I'm saying is, surrender to it and stop fighting it and find ways to stay asleep while you're nursing so that your baby can do what your baby needs to do and you can get some rest as well.
Jamie, your face when you're reading the screen, priceless. Close your mouth, hun. Oh.
What?
Because I go, it's an immediate, I'm like,
oh.
Let me just read these comments. What? Oh, this is very good. What can you do about drop in production and milk supply when it's your time of the month?
Okay.
We've never addressed this.
Yeah.
We've never addressed Evenflo here before.
Yeah. So one of the things that you'll see, and I just noticed over that I've been a I've been working with working with moms for 25 years, but really exclusively breastfeeding moms for about the last 10, 12 years. And I've seen a real increase in the frequency that moms are getting their periods sooner and sooner into nursing. And I don't know if that has anything to do with maybe the environmental hormones or things that we're seeing, but I'm definitely seeing a difference from years ago. And so a lot of moms are going to experience getting their period again in that first year when they're breastfeeding. And as the estrogen levels start to increase and as you're going through your cycle again, you can see a decrease in your milk supply that can actually be pretty dramatic.
I saw a decrease in this supply.
Let's not talk about your period if you're right.
You just went there.
Sorry, couldn't help it.
Whatever.
And so you need to do something because you're going to know that's going to happen. One thing is to definitely try to track your periods, which can sometimes be difficult because they can be irregular when you're breastfeeding. But being able to kind of predict when it's coming can help you to, help alleviate some of the issues that you might find, like taking a supplement like something like More Milk Plus with fenugreek. I used to do that when I was nursing and I knew my period was coming and I knew my milk supply was going to decrease. I would just start the More Milk Plus like a week before and start taking it, and it totally helped to keep my milk supply at least to the point where I didn't struggle. I also noticed that I'd have to nurse a little more frequently, like more often, but I was able to get the milk as long as I was nursing more frequently. So those were two things.
There we go.
More Milk Plus, it's great.
More Milk Plus is great, and
It's
they
from
also
Mother Love.
Mother Love. They also make a ton of different formulas of it, and they make one that is safe for you to use while you're nursing and pregnant.
Yeah, it's called More Milk 2.
Is it More Milk 2?
Yeah.
Okay. They're all variations on a name, but look them up, Mother Love. Here we go.
Somebody's saying extra water, can't stress enough. Let me just address the water issue. That's not exactly the way that you want to do this when you're breastfeeding. So yes, you need to stay hydrated and you will be naturally thirsty. So keeping a glass of water with you when you're breastfeeding is going to be important, and you'll notice like I'm thirsty, so you drink to thirst. And I always tell people drink to thirst, but the idea that forcing fluids is going to somehow increase your milk supply, it's not true. It won't work, and actually it can have the opposite effect than what you're trying to establish. Too much water, overhydrating, forcing fluids can actually decrease your supply. And so you really just want to drink to thirst, stay hydrated, which might mean 10, 12 glasses a day for a breastfeeding mom. But thinking, I'm going to sit here and guzzle a ton of water to try to increase my supply.
That messes everything up.
That's not what you want to do.
Overhydration. The thing is, a non-pregnant, non-nursing human, you should drink half your body weight in ounces. And what happens when I'm as guilty of this as anyone, but if you don't drink enough water, you actually get bloated because your body retains it. So you have to drink enough water. Water is very important.
Water can be, over drinking can throw off your electrolytes. There's all kinds of things, but it can also have an opposite effect on your milk supply. So overhydrating is not the answer.
Nope. Here's actually something very nice. We talked about in the last hour, like how the contents and nutrient content of the milk changes while you're nursing. So if your breast milk is constantly changing, what happens when you have a newborn and your 2-year-old still wants to nurse?
So your 2-year-old is drinking newborn milk, okay, because your body is always going to, like a lot of people will continue to breastfeed while they're pregnant. And what you'll see is a lot of times as you get closer to the delivery, your milk is turning to colostrum. It tastes different. And so your older child may actually naturally wean because the taste is not the same. Some kids could care less and they'll keep breastfeeding, and your body's always going to take care of your newborn first. So the milk will revert back to colostrum, more nutrients for the newborn, made for the newborn. It's totally fine for your older child to drink that milk as well. But you also want to remember when you're tandem nursing to always make sure that your youngest, your newborn is getting to feed first, and that you're giving the milk to the baby before you offer to the toddler. Why are you laughing?
I'm just loving. People are like, I'm so scandalized about lanolin. We had a whole big discussion about lanolin in the first hour. So if you're looking for nipple butters and whatnot, go back and watch that. Let me see here. There's so many comments.
Can you let people know that I'll answer questions for them?
Oh, yes. If you have questions for her, go to her Facebook page. The link is in the actual caption of the video. Go over there, give her a like, right? She will answer you.
Yeah, I'm going to be answering questions here and there throughout the month until we do the next. We'll be doing Q&As for the rest for monthly. Jamie and I will do them monthly, and we'll do them like this. But if you have specific questions that didn't get answered, I'll be doing them throughout the month. Little short videos that I can answer, and it's great to do it that way because I've had so many people private message me, but what happens then is that everybody doesn't get to hear the answer.
Yeah.
So
it's one of the reasons I turned private messages off on my Facebook because everybody had so many questions, but so many of them were the same. And it's if 2,500 people ask me about infant car seats, I'd be answering the same thing over and over.
Exactly.
If one person asks me on my wall, I can answer that. People can scroll through the wall and see, like, before I ask a question or after, like, did he answer this? And you just scroll back and look.
Yep. And if a lot of people have the same types of questions or types of concerns, then I'll film a little video to answer them for you.
This is a great one.
Yeah.
I'm in school to be an IBCLC.
Excellent.
Any good advice for me?
Oh, yes. Okay, so what I would recommend as an IBCLC is to do a lot of your own reading and thinking. Everybody develops their own practice, and so just following one person's style, just reading, what one person's recommending, really won't give you that benefit of free thinking, of creativity, of being able to bring your particular flavor to what it is that you're doing, and that's so needed in this profession.
It's what's needed, like, breastfeeding, car seat safety, baby wearing, like not everyone is built the same, and you have to find someone that lines up with how you work as a human.
Yeah. I did that for myself. I was a nurse midwife, a certified nurse midwife for many years before I became a lactation consultant. My specialty was not in breastfeeding. I was doing deliveries and taking care of pregnant moms. But when I decided to move into this field, it was really important to me to figure out what worked for my clients and teach what I felt was working. And so that's how I even wrote my classes. That's how I started my career doing this. And what I teach sometimes differs slightly from what other people teach, but that's what we need different ideas, different opinions, and
everyone is built differently and different schools of thought apply to everyone.
It's by having that, more moms will be helped in the end.
Agreed.
But congratulations, I'm happy to hear that. We need more lactation consultants.
What do you do when baby won't stay latched and you don't respond to pumps?
What do you do when baby won't stay latched and you don't respond to pumps? Why are you not responding to pumps? I question how many pumps she's tried. Some pumps you will struggle with. I know that even Jennifer had this issue with some pumps, right? Let's talk about that for a minute.
My sister used a ton of pumps, a ton, and there were some that she enjoyed, some she did not. There was a certain pump on the market we were scheduled to do a giant promotion with and work with. Jennifer used it. I was my sister. I was her birth doula with my nephew. What Jennifer went through using that pump, I heard her scream more than when she was in actual labor. It had a one-size-fits-all phalange. It was absolutely awful. I took a video of it and sent it to a couple IBCLs. Did I send it to you as well?
Yeah.
To the point where it could have done nipple damage. It was absolutely terrible. So we dumped them immediately. Would never work with them. End of story. And Jennifer actually used this pump prior to the Evenflo pump, prior to us even having a working arrangement.
We were.
And Jennifer was like, this is the most comfortable pump I've ever used. It's wonderful. And that's what opened me up to it, because I've known Shari 6 years. And when I was like, Evenflo, I was like, to me, it doesn't.
Match up.
It
with
doesn't
high
match up
quality
with
pumps.
it doesn't match up with like a really like high quality thing. And I would say this, even without working with him, like whatever. It's why I choose to work with him. I trust you and love you and like we get along.
Yeah.
But it's good, and my sister liked it, and I've talked with a lot of people who have used it and liked it. So I was like, great, let's do it, because I have this platform to get knowledge out of a pump that doesn't cost $300 or $400
No.
and does a damn fine job.
And that's the problem, is that when you see something that costs less, you assume that it's not as good a quality. But what the intention is to make sure that everybody can afford to have a really good pump. Everybody should be able to afford that, and we don't believe that you need to spend $400 or $300 to get a really good quality pump. This pump has the features and actually has the motor that's strong enough to do the right job. And do it with the things that are going to help mom the most. And like you said, it's not just one person. We've worked with so many people, and me as a lactation consultant, I don't actually work for Evenflo Feeding. I work with them. I have my own company.
Working for and with are two very different things.
It's like Jamie works with Evenflo Feeding as well. But I don't work for the company, but I did come in very early on in the development of the breast pump to help them design the pump from a perspective of like, this has to be the absolutes for me to even work with you.
Yeah.
This is like, you have to have these features. This pump has to work. It has to be able to get the milk out. I mean, that's for me, my main concern and mission and goal is to help moms.
And when I found out, side note, when I found out this partnership was happening, I was actually excited as shit. Because I was like, good. Education will happen.
Yeah.
Bye.
Well, we said this in the last hour, that the pump includes both of my educational programs into it, and that was actually a definite to work with them, because I do believe that moms, what good is the product and the pump if mom doesn't know how to breastfeed and mom doesn't know how to pump and how to use it right? And so it was, but it was not even an issue, because Evenflo was so committed to the educational piece as well, which they completely are. So
Yep. Yay.
Yay, Evenflo, and someone's going to win one again.
Yep, we're giving away 2 pumps tonight, because my travel schedule, as we all know, in November went to hell, and I was never home, so we missed our November Q&A. So tonight we're doing 2 hours. We're getting it done.
Today.
2 pumps. Let's find a good question. So many things talking about hand expression on here. This is great.
I love reading these questions here, even on the screen. I'm not going to keep my mouth open like Jamie.
Blah, blah, blah. We're talking. Flange sizes. It comes up every time.
Let's talk
about it. Go for it.
Okay. So I'm going to pull the pump back here, because flange size is something that we really do need to discuss. I mean, a lot of people don't even know that these things come. The flange is the piece that goes up against your breast, and they don't come in a one-size-fits-all.
Nope.
Okay, even though most of the pumps out there on the market, when you get the pump, it's going to come with one flange included, like what they consider their standard size.
And one of the big pumps on the market for years only had one flange size.
So, a lot of moms won't even know that they come in other sizes, and they won't know. And then what are you going to do? Like, if it doesn't fit properly, you're not even sure if it does or doesn't. And then you have to go, buy all the other flanges to figure out which one do I need. So like we were saying before, one of the things when I helped with the pump was it has to have multiple flanges included with the pump, and at least 3, because these 3 sizes are the most common, will fit most moms out there. So this one actually has and this is something I love too, it has a soft flange. So it's a soft silicone, so it's very, very cushiony if anybody has the pump out there. But the thing that will really, one of the biggest problems with not having the right size, and that's what I'm talking about, is not this part here that goes up against your breast, but the hole in the center where your nipple goes in. If that doesn't fit properly, what's going to happen is it's going to hurt, first of all, when you pump. And second, it's not going to get your milk out effectively. But you might not know that. You'll probably blame yourself, which, like a lot of us as moms, we blame ourselves that we didn't have enough milk, or there's something wrong with us, when in fact it was just the flange that was not fitting you properly, and no one explained to you or took the time to tell you what a proper flange size looks like or is, and the company didn't include it in your package. So having the right flange size is extremely important. I did a video, we showed it once, right? I did a video, it's on my YouTube channel, on My Baby Experts YouTube channel, and it actually goes over proper flange size fitting. So you can see what it looks like on a real mom of what should happen when you have
I totally put that up.
Right? You had that too.
Yeah, it's in the video section here.
Go and watch it. It's so good because it's the only video I did it, but it's the only video I see out there that actually shows you on
Nothing
a real
has
breast.
ever addressed flange sizes ever.
What?
Nothing has ever
Nobody
addressed
addresses
flange
it.
sizes.
Nobody addresses it, and it's critical to the use of your pump. So to get your pump to work, if the flange doesn't fit, pump's
Nothing
not
else
gonna work.
matters.
Right. So it's actually one of the most critical components of your breast pump.
Awesome. I have a question here ready to go, but I just saw one come up through here that I want to talk about. How do you become an IBCLC?
Oh.
What IBCLC stands for what?
International Board Certified Lactation Consultant. And there are lots of different credentials for people who practitioners who take care of breastfeeding moms or work with breastfeeding moms. One is IBCLC, another would be like a CLC. There's different types of levels with IBCLC having the most amount of hours and the most credentialed part of it. There are different ways, different pathways to get there. So depending on your experience with breastfeeding, the amount of hours that you've had in breastfeeding, your educational background, you know, lots of nurses go into this, and other different pathways as well. You can become an IBCLC. It's a certification exam that you take. But there's different types. I would go online and there's IBCLE.org, I believe it is. It'll teach you the different pathways to becoming an IBCLC. I hope I got that website right, but it'll show you what you need, and your own breastfeeding hours don't count. So a lot of people ask me that, you know, like, well, I've had like 50,000 hours of breastfeeding. No, it has to be working with other moms. So, but if you don't have those hours, there are other pathways to do it.
This is the question I had on hold. Okay. Can I bleach my pump parts? I noticed a spot of gross in a hard to reach part of my other pump, the part that connects to the yellow part that always gets stuck together. I hate it. That boiling and nuking hasn't removed. How I dream of kicking this thing to the curb. So let's talk about proper pump cleaning and whatnot.
If you see gross or mold, I'm assuming you're talking about, in your pump, in any piece of your pump or part of your pump, then that piece needs to be thrown away. Okay, you're not bleaching your parts. The piece needs to be removed. On an open system pump, and what I mean by that is a pump that the tubing, you know, sort of plugs right into the pump, there's no barrier. You can get milk and other stuff inside this tubing. That can grow mold inside the tubing, and those tubes need to be replaced.
And it can even get mold back into like face plates of pumps.
There's
and
no barrier for
Nope.
what's being sucked. And remember, it's sucking really strongly as you turn on your motor. So whatever gets in here could get into your motor, and then that can never be cleaned, which is why I insist on a closed system pump. Like it really should be your thing. Like if you're choosing a pump, the first question is it open or closed?
Done.
Like
Only
that's like the
closed.
number one thing you ask. Is it open or is it closed? If it's open, move on. If it's closed, then you start moving on to the other features, like does the pump have individual speed and suction? Does the pump have multiple flange sizes? Like other things like that. But open, closed, that's my number one question, and I would never buy an open system pump. But the reason that you're seeing mold in the parts is probably because it's an open system. If you were to ever get mold, sometimes if you're not taking your pump parts, like taking everything apart for your cleaning, then you could get...
I'm going to hold this for a second just to have a moment. So, go. I want to bring something up in a second.
So if you're not taking all your pieces apart to wash them thoroughly, you could get yuck inside the different small parts, and then again, you want to replace them. But boiling should get rid of it. Like if you boil that pieces, if it's not getting rid of from normal washing.
If it's so bad you need bleach, throw that shit
away.
out.
Absolutely. Throw it away. You don't need to bleach anything. I would never do that. And when it comes to your pump parts too, another important thing is that, I find people boiling and sterilizing their pump parts over and over and over again, and I don't recommend that at all. Like, you want to sterilize it, quick boil and sterilize, follow your manufacturer's instructions on the first time when you first take it out of the box to clean it. But then after that, with breast milk, you just want to hot soapy water, air dry, or on the top rack of the dishwasher, and then that's it.
And if you're pumping at work, you don't have to wash all day. Put them in a bag in the fridge, keep it cold, pump, whatever. You don't have to do any of the crazy cleaning all day. Wash it once a day and you're done.
Yeah, like, because milk can stay in the cooler for like up to 24 hours. So what I usually say is, if you have your cooler with your ice packs and you're at work, just take your parts and you literally stick them in the cooler till the next time you're going to pump. And they don't need to be washed or cleaned until you're done.
Let's talk about this real quick.
I want to hear this.
Do you see the membrane here? Okay. Membranes exist in all pumps. Membranes are very important. Why are membranes important? And when should you replace them, and how do you know?
One of the biggest reasons why moms would complain that they're losing suction on their pump is because they're not changing their membranes and thinking that membrane is going to last forever. The membrane does not last forever. It's not intended to last forever. Most pumps will actually come with replacement membranes in the package, but if they don't, you can buy them separately. And again, show them the membrane, what that is.
The membrane, it's different on every pump.
Sometimes
but
there's a membrane.
This is like the hard casing. The membrane is usually like a soft silicone-y type thing, and that is what controls airflow and whatnot. So if it gets loosey-goosey, it doesn't have that reflex action to go back and seal.
Then you'll be sucking air from the bottle instead of from your nipple. And sometimes it's a valve, sometimes it's a membrane, but if it's open, if the valve's open, or if the membrane's, like Jamie said, too loose or bent or worn out, then it will, when you put this onto your breast, what's going to happen is, instead of sucking air from here, it's sucking air from the bottle itself, and you're going to feel like you have no suction. You'll blame it on the pump, you'll blame it on yourself, and all you needed to do was put a new membrane on. So these are simple things.
Boom. Membrane. Knowledge bombs. Great.
Yep.
We're going to find here we go. What about fore milk and hind milk imbalance?
Okay, good question. So let's explain what fore milk and hind milk is, because to talk about balance, we need to know what it is.
Wait. We never really finished. How often
should you change the membranes?
With membranes.
I would say, like, it depends on how frequently you're using your pump. I say, if you're using it regularly, like full time when you're going back to work, it could be monthly. It could be every 2 months that you need to change it. Once you notice the suction level starting to decrease, it's time to change it. Low suction is going to decrease the amount you can pump, so you don't want to take any chances with that, because that will decrease your milk supply overall. So just stay on top of it. They're not expensive. They're pretty cheap. And just put a new one on. If you're not using your pump a lot, then you may not need to change it as frequently. And I noticed somebody on there who said that's probably what's wrong with her pump, because her pump's a year old. Say you're taking your pump out from your last baby, okay? Because this is a question that comes up, like, can I use my pump again? And of course, if the pump is working, you can use the motor again, but I would recommend replacing all the rest of it. So that means, like, from here forward, you're going to get this new and use your motor again if it's still functioning. Now remember, on an open system pump, depending on how much backflow you've had from the last time into these tubes, you don't really know what's growing inside the motor, and aerosols can come backwards. So I would recommend, possibly with an open system pump, Everybody makes their own choice. Personally, I wouldn't use it, but with a closed system pump, you can use it again as long as it's still functioning.
Yeah. Now back to the fore-milk, hind milk imbalance.
Oh, wait. Okay.
We got sidetracked for a moment.
Like what? Okay, so fore-milk and hind milk. What this is a term used for when the breast is really full, and meaning like, you know, you're during your engorgement or you're oversupplied, whatever it is that you have a lot of milk, or like right before feeding and you've gone a long time and your breast is hyper full. What first comes out is something called fore-milk, and it's a watery, more skim milk type milk. It's lower in calories, lower in fat, it's watery. And if you're pumping, you probably noticed this where like the milk can be a little more watery, and then as you continue to pump, more of the fat starts to come out, and you'll see it sometimes separate in the bottle, the fat from the water. What comes out after the fore-milk is what they call hind milk, and that's more like a creamier milk, higher calorie, higher fat content. Sometimes people will get really worried about this whole issue of fore-milk and hind milk, and they'll think about it at every feeding, which is absolutely not necessary. If the breast is not overly full, you don't have to think about it at all. It's all hind milk. It's all the same. It really doesn't matter. When this can be an issue is more in the early days. Your breast could be engorged. You're making a lot of fore-milk, and you're feeding your baby on one side. This is something I see a lot. They'll feed their baby a lot, like feed your newborn on one breast, and then watch the clock. And after 20 minutes, they'll say, time to switch. And they'll switch sides, and they'll feed the other side. And the baby, you'll do that every day, and the baby's drinking, and you can hear the swallowing, and you have all these wet diapers, and you think everything's fine. And then you go to the pediatrician, and you're not getting that much weight gain. You're like, what's wrong? Maybe the baby's not getting enough, because that's always the first place they go, is they're not getting enough because they didn't gain weight. When really it could just be that you're switching sides too soon and your breasts are too full, so the baby's not getting as much fat and calories as the baby could get. So in those cases, if you're really, really full and your baby's young, what I would recommend is sticking to one side at one feeding, and then for the next feeding, switch to the other side. That'll help to actually bring your milk supply down to where it needs to be normally, and avoid this whole hind milk, fore-milk issue. That's a long question to a short question.
We had a couple questions about this.
Okay, all right, good.
This first session, and we've had some here. When my little one nurses, the milk drains out of her mouth. She gulps to keep up. She always winds up soaked. What can I do to help her? A couple people had like forceful letdown, choking issues, any advice?
Well, you know, again, when the milk is coming out forcefully, we talked about letdown in the last hour of what that was, when the milk initially starts to eject out of the breast. It can be forceful, and it could be too much for your baby to handle. One thing that you could try is feeding where the baby is more in an upright position. So actually even laid back feeding where you're laying back and the baby's more on top of you rather than underneath you, because that allows the baby to control the flow of the milk and allow it to come out of its mouth versus down its throat where it's laying on its, upside down and it's pouring down. So if you really do have a strong letdown, the baby's choking, that laid back feeding is a great way to control the flow of the milk, not only from the baby how the baby's taking it, but also from gravity as well. The other thing you can do is just make sure you're not pumping. A lot of people will try to empty the breast after the feeding. This is just such bad advice, such wrong advice, is to breastfeed and then empty the rest of the breast, or try to store it for later when you're going back to work. And then what you're doing is you're creating so many problems where there's an oversupply. The baby's gagging and choking on all that milk. You're creating the fore-milk, hind milk issue that we just talked about. Fore-milk, actually, breast milk in general has, I'm going to go off topic a little bit for a second because it's really important. Breast milk has 10 times the amount of lactose in it than cow's milk. So for all of you out here who think, okay, well, my baby's intolerant of milk, maybe it's the lactose. Babies typically do not have any kind of a lactose intolerance. This is very, very, very rare for a human baby because breast milk has 10 times the lactose. And for any of you who've ever tasted breast milk, It's very sweet. Why? Because that's the milk sugar. If you overproduce, that milk that doesn't have the fat doesn't help all that lactose to digest, and babies get very gassy. So try not to overproduce by pumping too much. That's a long, long way around, but
just a side note,
yes.
Isn't this a wonderful way to spend a Saturday evening?
At the fire?
We are just talking about breastfeeding on a Saturday. Yay.
What else would you want to do?
Listen,
this is all I'd want to do on a Saturday.
I love doing this, so I'm fine. I just find it hysterical.
Well, think about how many
thanks
moms are out there.
all of you for hanging out. The whole point of this is to get information out there. So thank you all for watching and sharing and liking and commenting. If I feel if we lived closer, we would do this 2 or 3 times a week.
We totally would.
Like,
I know.
Done.
It's too fun. And there's so many topics we can also talk about.
Well, we could also just talk about whatever the hell we felt like. Hi, Joe, back there with the fire.
He's stoking the fire.
So somebody was asking about cluster and block feeding. Do you want to?
Yeah, I mean, the main thing with cluster feeding is that, you know, the idea is that your baby, at times, there's something that happens, and I'm going to go into something actually about growth spurts to talk about this.
Okay.
Because I think this is actually a more important, a way to bring it together that's important to a lot of people. Your baby will naturally grow in spurts. And so it's not that every day they're growing the same amount. They're going to grow in spurts. And so a normal breastfed baby typically has their first growth spurt somewhere around 2 to 3 weeks, then again around 6 weeks, then again around 3 months and 6 months. And this is times where everything seems like it's going fine and you're breastfeeding and the schedule's kind of coming together and you're like, I got this, you know? And then you wake up one day and the baby's like on your breast every hour, hungry, wanting more, you're feeling like you're empty. And it just doesn't, like, something seems like it's wrong or that you're just not making enough milk. And the answer to that is it's true, but in a normal way. You're making not enough milk for what your baby needs because your baby just grew overnight. And some of you will see that, like the baby actually, I've had that experience where I look at the baby and the baby like looks bigger than the day before. Like, I'm like, seriously, I can see the growth. It's ridiculous. And the baby's hungry. The answer to that is not to go try to rip out some of the milk out of the freezer, supplement with formula, do all these other things, because your baby actually needs to help you increase your supply at that point. And so cluster feeding comes in at that point where the baby may need to eat very frequently throughout the day, maybe a 24-hour period or a 2-day period. That's going to help you to bring your milk supply back to where it normally does, where it should be. It's going to increase your supply naturally. The very worst thing you could do when your baby's going through a growth spurt is to supplement. Okay, your body has no idea what your baby needs. It's up to your baby to take the milk out, to demand more, supply and demand, to demand more, and then your body is going to jump into action. Mm-hmm. And you're going to like be making twice as much 2 days later, and you're going to be able to feed, and you're going to get through that period. And if you think about a lot of your friends or even yourself, where you've hit that 2 to 3 week mark, and you'll hear someone say, you know, I wasn't making enough milk. I was fine, but then somewhere around 2 to 3 weeks, my milk dried up. That wasn't that. What it is that you hit the first growth spurt, and what you needed to do was to actually nurse a lot, stay with it, nurse every hour if that's what was needed, and let your body catch up with what your baby's demands are.
Very, very
I have a whole chapter in my breastfeeding class on growth spurts.
Okay.
Because it's such a huge, like in the class, it's like a whole thing that people need to understand about growth spurts, what to do, how to deal with it, how to understand it, the difference between that and really low milk supply. Because you may have to take the day off of work and just get in bed and do nothing but nurse for an entire day.
There you go. We had a good question pop up on the phone. Best way to find out how much to put in a ball?
Best way. Paced feeding. Okay, so one way is to estimate based on your baby's age, and I'll tell you this, that a 3-day-old baby will typically, so like right when your milk's just first coming in.
Hold on. Bring these out while
Belly
they're here.
balls. Okay.
Bring out the balls. Bring out the balls while they're here.
All right. So these are belly balls. And what this is going to show you the size of an infant's belly. Okay. So that you can kind of get an understanding of how much does your baby actually eat. This first little ball, okay, if you can see here, and it's like the size of a large marble.
Like almost like a thumb.
Okay. This is how much your baby's eating per feeding on day 1, day 2. Okay, this is like colostrum. Mm-hmm. So when you see this in a bottle, it's like that much in a bottle. It's not these half a bottle or a full bottle. This is how big your baby's belly is, and they really can't stretch it bigger than that. And what winds up happening is they're overfed and then they vomit. And then everybody's like, oh, they have reflux, they're on medications. It's not true. They just don't eat a lot, okay? That's why you don't make a lot. It all goes hand in hand. But this is the size of day 1. Then this little ball here. This one is day 3, okay? And this one is about a half an ounce, I would say. A half an ounce in a bottle. If you look at your bottles and you look at what half an ounce is, it's not very much. Okay, so this is a very small amount as well. This one here is day 10. Looks like a little Easter egg, you know, that's the size of a plastic egg. And this is about an ounce and a half. This is day 10. Okay, that's how much babies actually eat when they're at the breast. So back to the question that was asked, which is how do you know how much to put into a bottle? These are estimates. I would say a baby that's 2 weeks old may be eating somewhere around an ounce and a half to 2 ounces. But the way that you're going to feed them if you're doing it through a bottle is you're going to give a little bit and you're going to keep pacing the feeding, which means you stop. You burp the baby. You allow the baby to take breaks so that you're not pouring it all down their throat at one time. When the baby hits, you know, somewhere around 3 to 4 months, don't do that because I'll start doing that.
No, I'm sorry, I yawned.
When the baby hits somewhere around 3 to 4 months, they're eating somewhere around 3 to 4 ounces. Mm-hmm. And like we talked about earlier, I don't know if this was in this session or the last session. It's the last session. Yeah. You have to go back and listen to that whole conversation. The baby really doesn't eat more than 4 ounces ever.
And that's something I actually just saw someone ask in the last session when I'm going through comments. Somebody asked if this pump came with bigger bottles so you can pump more. Mm-hmm. You don't need to pump.
These are 5-ounce bottles.
If you're pumping 5 ounces
from each side, that's 2 feedings.
I mean, get it.
Yeah, you really should not be pumping. You should, when you're pumping, like double pumping, I would say you should be filling like, you know, 3, even 2.5 ounces on each side is a full feeding to the baby. That's more.
2.5 is like.
That's more than a full feeding. And depending on how old the baby is, I mean, it could be 3 feedings in there. So you're not filling. In fact, all these bottles, these like 8, 9 ounce bottles, I don't recommend them at all for breastfeeding moms. If you're going to be breastfeeding and you're pumping milk into a bottle, you don't need an 8 ounce bottle.
Well, it's like confusing information. It's a mixed signal.
Totally.
You're like, oh, these bottles are here. I have to give them 8 ounces of breast milk right now.
And how is your measly little 2 ounces or 2.5 ounces going to look in this 9 ounce bottle?
You're going to think it's not enough.
So really stick to the small bottles. I really like the small glass bottles, or just the smaller ones that go up to like 5 ounces for feeding, 4 ounces. Even that, you won't be filling it most of the time.
But here we go. We're looking for more questions. A lot of you are asking, what is her website? It's mybabyexperts.com, or you can click her Facebook page up here or down here, depending on if you're using computer or the app.
The best place to like ask me questions
Facebook.
And interact with me and watch some of my videos too that I'll be posting on there is on my Facebook page. But the entire library, the show that Jamie and I used to do together all those years ago, all those episodes on everything from like strapping your baby into your car seat properly, like amazing episodes that will give you information on so much, all is on my website as well, or on my YouTube channel.
Best advice for tandem nursing.
best advice for tandem nursing?
Yeah.
It's like what we talked about before. You know, you're younger, and tandem nursing can be twins, or it can be two children of different ages. If it's two children of different ages, then of course you're going to focus on your younger child first. Make sure that they're getting what they need and that they're eating. They're obviously, you know, in the beginning only getting breast milk as their full nutrition. The milk is made for them at that age, and then follow up with your toddler after that. Tandem nursing is like normal in every part of the world. It's something that keeps babies healthy. The thing about it is that there is no time limit to how long the breast milk is good for your baby, and the baby continues to receive the health benefits from breast milk for as long as they continue to nurse. So I think that the longer you can do it, the better. Not everybody wants to or decides to, but if you love it and your baby's happy and you want to continue, I recommend continuing.
Very good, very good. Now we're just in a stream of yes, 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 and that's what happens when your video feed freezes and you're like, can you see me? And all of a sudden it's like, yes, 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 yes. So give me 1 second.
They're so helpful.
Okay, this is good.
Looks like your shirt's on fire.
Well,
Flames coming
I'm
off
flaming. What can I say? My doctor said I have to stop breastfeeding due to being pregnant. She also said he would have no benefits since he's now 1. I know the 2B. Oh, this sentence is awkward. Hold on.
How about we just answer that?
The other sentence of this is a little. It's a little wonky.
Okay.
So just answer that, and it will actually answer the second
two things.
part.
One is what I just answered before, which is your baby continues to receive the benefits of breast milk and the nutrition from it and the nutrients and the antibodies and everything else good for as long as you continue to breastfeed. So this answer of like they stop receiving any benefit at 1 is total crap, and I don't even know where it comes from, but you're not listening to that. The other part of the question about whether you can continue to breastfeed while you're pregnant, in most circumstances, like the majority, yes, you continue to breastfeed while you're pregnant. Many women continue to breastfeed while they're pregnant. There's no problem with that unless you have a history of recurrent miscarriage, preterm labor, things like that. If you have some high-risk issue that could jeopardize your pregnancy, that may be a reason to stop breastfeeding.
And it's not like all nipple stimulation will induce labor.
No,
like
it's really very individual. If you've had many miscarriages, if you've had infertility issues and you've an incompetent cervix, you've got different issues, you may want to consider that, or you've had pregnancy bleeding or whatever. What happens is when the nipple is stimulated, like we talked about before, it releases oxytocin in your brain, and that can cause and that causes your milk to release, but it also causes your uterus to contract. And so if you are a high-risk pregnancy, it may be an issue, but those are very extreme circumstances.
Yeah. Good answer. This is a very good question that we've actually never addressed here before.
Uh-oh.
What can she do about oversupply and she's not pumping?
Okay. Oh, it's a really good question. So she's not pumping, but she continues to make a lot. One thing that can help is if you are... Depends on what you're doing. Like if you are, it depends on how young the baby is too. Like it's a really hard question because what are we talking about? Are we talking about like early on?
Yeah, there's no age.
There's no way to know. It's very unusual for someone to just keep making a ton of milk. The baby's eating what the baby eats. You're not pumping the rest, and then you just keep making it. It's just not the way that it normally happens. So it's a very unusual question. I'm not really. And how does she know she's oversupplied? That's it. You know, if you're not pumping it out, we don't really know. Is it because of the size of her breasts? Like, what is it? Is it her heavy letdown that's making her think it's oversupply, or is it just engorgement because she's just early on in the whole breastfeeding experience? So, sort of a hard question to answer. I don't really often see that, where someone is just continuously oversupplied for the entire year, and they're not pumping and just breastfeeding. Unless they're breastfeeding other people's children, and in which case they would be oversupplied anyway, so.
Yeah.
I don't really understand.
I would also, we have a lot of questions coming up about tongue and lip tie. We covered that in the last hour we were on here. So if you have questions about that, go back and watch that. Let's talk about this. Does a 10-month-old baby need water?
No, if they're breastfeeding. A breastfeeding 10-month-old baby. Breastfed babies don't need water at all. In fact, I think it's 98% of breast milk is water, so it's very watery. They don't need to drink additional water. Some formula-fed babies may need additional water in the hot summer months, so they could get dehydrated, but not a breastfed baby. Even in the hot summer, you're nursing more frequently. Water will fill them up with no calories, no nutrition. No, the answer is no, they really don't need water.
Okay. What about breast implants? Is it harder to nurse?
No. I mean, I don't have breast implants. I don't know. It's not harder from what I've experienced from other moms. It's not harder to nurse. If you're asking, does it affect your supply the way a breast reduction could? No, we do not usually see that to impact your milk supply at all.
An implant? Oh God! Oh, I just talked over my wine because I was using my hands. Can we get a towel?
Towel.
I just spilled it because I was like, versus an implant versus a reduction. I just spilled everything.
Okay. That's okay.
It got on no one's phones though, and at the end of the day, that's all that matters. So implant versus reduction.
So it's a big difference, okay? When it comes to breast implants, I don't usually see any issue with milk supply, because typically none of the ducts are cut. They're all laughing at you for that.
Oh, Jamie's drunk as if you would know. You would know. I'd be like, oh hi. Now. But it is alcohol abuse. I just wasted this much wine. Oh.
So that's breast implants, and why that doesn't usually affect it is because of the way they insert the implant. It doesn't usually cut through the ducts from the nipple, connecting the nipple to the milk glands. When you do have a reduction, that can be an issue if the nipple was removed off the breast at the time of the surgery. It can sever the ducts, and you can have an issue. But I say can because I have moms who you really don't know until you're going to breastfeed whether a breast reduction is going to impact your milk supply or make you unable to breastfeed. I have a mom who is very close. You know her too, Janine.
Oh yeah.
She's had 2 breast reductions. She had 2 breast reductions early on, and she breastfed 3 children fully, exclusively, and I've had several clients like that who have been able to breastfeed with no problem and had a breast reduction or 2 in that case. What I would recommend is that you plan to be successful. You plan that it's going to work. You set yourself up for success. You take the classes.
It's like The Secret.
You do everything that you are planning to do to be prepared to do this, and then you wait and see when the time comes. For some moms, they are able to make all the milk. For other moms, they're still able to make some milk. So they can still breastfeed and maybe have to supplement formula as well, depending on how much of the breast is affected. But any breast milk is still going to be better than none.
And let's just say, you don't have to breastfeed exclusively to be a successful breastfeeder.
Exactly.
End of story.
Very well said, Jamie.
That's
Very
it.
well said.
And one thing that always, there are 2 things that stuck with me.
Are we about to go off here?
We have like a minute and a half.
Okay.
When I went through all the breastfeeding classes where I worked at the Birth Education Center, the IBCLCs that I studied under, there were 2 things they stuck with. They were like, if you breastfeed, do it for 1 day. Did it work? Try for a second. Did it
love
work?
that.
Try for a third. It's just about one day at a time.
It's so,
you know.
it's so true. It's really the truth, but it's really the truth about anything that you commit yourself to. You have to commit yourself to one step at a time. You can't think about it. And I'll have moms who are like 2 days postpartum and they're asking me, what do I do in 6 months when I go back to work? Think about tomorrow right now. So if you're worrying about what's going to happen months from now, focus on today because everything's going to change
Stress
anyway.
fucks everything up. And, you know, everybody has this question like, how long should you nurse a child? Like, whatever. You nurse as long as it's mutually agreeable for parent and child. That's it.
Yep. And don't let anybody's opinions pressure you or impact you. It's really up to you and to your baby. And, you know, also don't have any limitations in your mind when you start because you may surprise yourself. You may love it more than you ever thought. You may want to do it. It may be easier than you ever thought when you finally get to that place. Leave your options open and continue as long as possible.
Should we come back after this? Or are we done? With a completely open Q&A, no breastfeeding if you want. Maybe for like 20 minutes, 20, 30. Should we come back? Talk about pregnancy and like products and whatever. Or no? Are you up for that?
Yeah, I'll do it.
I'm totally up for it right now.
Something other than breastfeeding for a while.
Yeah. We'll come back.
Okay.
We will come back, talk for a little bit, and I will not even look at my phone, and we will just take whatever pops up here.
We want to hear about some gear, Jamie.
We can do whatever we need.
Okay.
I have the strength of Dolly tonight. So
You're sure.
we will be back. Thank y'all for hanging out. Yay.
Thank you, guys. Good night.
Back in
See
a
you
second.
soon.